Hey guys, Joe Madden here. This is Pocket with Joe. I'm joined today by Stormy of Veasan. Stormy, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, and best show name ever. So well done.
Thank you. And I don't know why my video did not want to play, so apologies to everyone. I'm going to have to look into that after. But Stormy, I'm excited to have you here. The NHL season is right around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be a ton of fun, a long season, obviously, as it always is. But we were just talking off camera, early in the year can be pretty beneficial. So hopefully give some good opportunities for people to get involved in betting the sport.
Yeah, I wanted to bring you on. We're going to talk about all these divisions, what you're liking in the divisions. But first, I know you have some general betting advice for the hockey market.
Yeah, definitely. And like I just referenced there a little bit, early in the season, I think that there's going to be a lot of good opportunity for bettors to get involved because the majority of the public are focused on football. And, I working at ESPN covering college football as well as what I do at VSiN, even I'm very much invested in the football side of things. So my early handicaps, I'm going to have to be really, really dialed in, I feel like, because my focus has been so much more split. But it's a long season. I think some of my best advice is just going to be to take breaks when you can, because we saw last year how big of favorites there were and favorites winning games. 64% of teams, I believe, in the favorites role did ultimately win games last year. And so we saw prices that weren't just minus 150, minus $2. They were like $4 and $5 favorites. And so that's something where I think we as bettors need to get a little bit more creative and find prop betting opportunities, alternate angles to bet on games that do present a lot of opportunities, whether it's shot on goals, save props, points, periods, alternate totals, and live betting as well, I think is a really good thing for people to get more involved in when it comes to hockey, especially for totals. I found have been pretty lucrative. Like if a game totals 5 and two teams come out flying with shots on goal, take advantage of the over in game before the algorithm catches up to you. One other thing I think is really important in betting hockey, obviously, which I feel like probably should go without saying a little bit, but morning skate reports, something we wish that the NHL would mandate and was a requirement to say, hey, announce a starting goalie, give us injury updates. They don't really do that. Injuries, are just upper body, lower body. So knowing which goalie's in the starter's net at morning skate, having notifications on for Twitter and beat writers and league insiders is really important. So those are just a few keys that really stand out to me early on.
Yeah, I love your advice, especially that live betting on those totals. We see a goal come in early that's a fluky kind of goal on a top goalie. Those numbers go up high in those totals. So betting that under was really profitable last year. What is your favorite kind of hockey bet, Stormy?
I had more success last year with totals than I did with sides. And I think part of that was because some of these big favorites, you try to take a shot on an underdog. And I mean, it was just so rare that those cashed. Granted, we did have a couple with the Arizona Coyotes who all of a sudden were world beaters with some of those big underdog prices. But, that happened so far and few between. So totals are something that I feel like I had the most success with throughout the course of the season. That's another just piece of advice, is to keep track of your bets and learning what you're good at and what you're not as successful at. And that's why I think I got into live betting totals more often, because you could find those little advantages. So that's my favorite way to bet personally. And I found alternate totals and stuff too, which is fun to get into throughout the regular season and the playoffs as well.
Yeah, it's crazy with that live betting, how quick those totals can change in that first couple of minutes based on what everyone is seeing out there. So if you believe in a total, I love doing that kind of thing. Let's look at some of these divisions, who you're high on in each. We'll start with the Pacific Division. This division seems really loaded to me. Is there any team that's really standing out more than others to you?
I feel like it's top heavy, right? You have the haves and the have-nots a lot. And I really like the team where you are in Calgary. They, plus 205 to repeat, winning the division, 6-1 in the Western Conference, 15-1 cup odds. So them and Edmonton are very similar with their numbers preseason and the futures. And I do like them for both. Here's what's crazy to me about Calgary, though, is you lose Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, But instead of getting worse, in a lot of ways, I think they got better with the additions that they brought in. So you have Huberdeau, you have Nazem Kadri, Uyghur. They're still going to score a lot of goals, right? And I think because the have-nots in the division have been, really not great. And you've got a no-nonsense coach too in Sutter that's going to keep this team humbled along the way. Good goaltending. I think a lot of these things could come together. I hate the way that their season ended, that they run into this Edmonton buzzsaw second round of the playoffs and make them look bad when they were really, really strong. Edmonton, I do also like, and like I said, similar numbers there. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, enough said, right? The offensive.
It's going to be a thing to get past.
Yeah. So I'm excited about what's to come. Like last postseason, I really thought, hey, maybe they're going to get over the hump here, and it stinks again the way that their season ended, right? So what I am really disappointed in, I guess, is the Vegas Golden Knights. Like I'm someone who used to work for the team. I adore the franchise. I want nothing but success for them. But I have a really hard time backing this team. And we saw last year their first missed postseason in franchise history. Fire Pete DeBoer, in steps Bruce Cassidy. So there's optimism from that standpoint, I guess. But I mean, they dealt with so many injuries, including, your goaltender is out before the season even starts for the year in Robin Leonard. You got Max Pacioretty gone. Granted, he's not healthy anyways, but a critical power play goal scorer that you need in the lineup. And Mark Stone and Jack Eichel, ideally healthy, but they largely failed to produce last year. Alex Pietrangelo, a salary cap nightmare that hasn't delivered. And so there's just so many things that I feel like have worked against this team. The potential, sky is the limit potential-wise.
Absolutely.
I'm just not sure that they reach it, unfortunately. Like, they have the name recognition and value and like all of these incredible pieces, yet I want to fade them. And so I think I'm going to take their under for points for the season at 96.5. I even took like a small flyer out on them to miss the playoffs again at plus 180. Their projected points total in a lot of the models I looked at was around 93.6 and I had a 58% chance of making postseason. And that was just close enough for me to look the other way, knowing like the health issues that I've seen with this team last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. This team, not healthy, just can't get it done. When they came to Calgary at the end of last season, they were all out on that ice. They played a phenomenal game, which gives me high hopes for them. But if they can stay healthy, that's too big of a question mark for me. I'm with you. I think the under points is definitely a great way to take this team. I've heard a lot of people thinking the Kraken could be a sleeper team in this division. Do you think the Kraken could come out? We've seen how bad they can be.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this answer short and sweet after I rambled so much about the Vegas Golden Knights, but the Kraken aren't it for me. I feel like even last year, anytime I did try to bet on them, it was just a recipe for disaster. So I'm not a fan of necessarily what they came out with year one, and I don't think year two we're going to see much of an improvement.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. Built completely opposite to how the Vegas Golden Knights originally built their team. Let's move on to the Central Division. We've got the Wild, we've got the Colorado Avalanche, the Blues in here. Lots of solid teams, the Predators as well. Who are you high on?
Yeah. And obviously the Avs fresh off Stanley Cup win, good for them. And I am really, really happy for them that they were finally able to get there with how talented their team is. I don't think that I bet on them to repeat just because, obviously it's so hard to do. The Lightning's run is not normal. Like, that's the exception to the rule, not the rule. Yeah. A long playoff run typically takes a big toll on the team, right? Because of how long the season is, how physical the sport is. Goaltending, I think, is subpar. And then from a value standpoint, I just don't think that the numbers are necessarily worthwhile. We know that there's a ton of star power. Nate McKinnon got paid. Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, Gabe Landeskog. Obviously, no more Nazem Kadri, who we just mentioned a moment ago, or Andre Burakovsky. I think they're going to be really good. I just don't think minus 150 to win the division, plus 190 to win the conference, and plus 380 to win it all again. I just don't think there's necessarily value there. I love the Wild. I love Dalibel Kirill. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure, again, like once they get to the playoffs, how far they'll go. The Blues actually do kind of intrigue me because 40-1, they're a long shot, obviously.
They are, but we saw how deep they went last season.
Exactly. Like, I think they could be a little bit sneaky. I know they lost David Perron, but most of that offense, they're ranked third in goals per 60, is back. Had a great power play last year. Defensively, Torrey Krug, Colton Parayko, I think good build. But what you have to really take into consideration, I think, if you wanted to bet on or against the Blues, is goaltending, right? Like, which version of Jordan Binnington are we going to get? Is it going to be playoff Binner? Because he ended his season unbelievable. Like 949 save percentage in those 6 games, but like overall his numbers since that Stanley Cup run just haven't been the same. So like, do you think that he's going to exceed that, or do you think he's going to continue to kind of take those steps down? Is up to the better. So I think it'd be worth a small bet at 40-1 if you like a long shot and you want to have a little bit of fun with it.
Everyone loves a long shot. Let's talk the Atlantic Division. We've got some great teams in here. Tampa Bay, the Lightning in here. The Sabres, another one. Sabres and Senators. I've been hearing rumors, people saying they're going to be better than last season. Got the Maple Leafs, who people are high on. I can't back. Montreal Canadiens. There's lots of teams in here. Who are you liking, Stormy?
Being like up there across the border, I totally understand why you're like, yeah, Toronto, I can't back them. Because I mean, they're such a polarizing team, and they always have these super high expectations, yet they can't get out of the first round ever. Like, it's unbelievable to me, right?
Yeah, people call them the Maple Laughs up here. So
that's so sad.
Not really. I'm a Calgary Flames fan, so I don't care. I call them whatever.
Yeah, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Well, and they're another team similar to what we talked about with Colorado that I just think is a little bit overvalued. And so if you wanted to bet futures on Toronto, you probably have to get a little bit creative. Like, maybe it is to win the division. Maybe it's head-to-head points with Colorado. I thought that was a cool bet that I saw, where the Avs were minus 160 and Leafs were plus 130 for like who would have more points than the other. So if you want a plus money bet on the Leafs, that's an intriguing one. I just think 7-1 for them to win the cup after they haven't been able to win a playoff series in 17 years is asking a little bit much. I mean, they haven't won a cup since there were just 6 teams in the NHL. So I'm not sure I believe in that. And again, that's despite the talent that they have, right? Like Austin Matthews, 60 goals plus, and you have 2 other guys that had 30 plus. You have 2 other guys that had 20 plus, like so much offensive talent. I'm not sure I liked their goaltending changes either.
No.
But I don't know. I'm not wasting my money on Toronto either.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, I could go one way or the other. I just think, again, the runs that they have made the last few years has probably finally reached its peak and taken a big toll. Florida won the President's Trophy last year, but they enter this year with a lot of question marks since trading away Huberdeau to your guys.
Yeah. So the Bruins, where are you going?
Yeah. So, I don't know. This is one of those divisions that I feel like is probably still going to be very, very good.
Yeah.
But has a lot of question marks as well. Like, all of those top tier teams probably took a little bit of a step back going into the season. The Bruins, I was kind of trying, like, I don't have any actual bets on Boston, but I think they're a team I might look to fade early on in the season and then try to get a better number on them after they've been kind of bad, because you're going to be missing Charlie McAvoy, Brad Marchand, Matt Grzelcyk, I believe Mike Riley as well. So that's like your top defenseman, your number 2 or 3 defenseman, your best winger, and you have a new coach. And so probably going to take a little while for them to figure things out. And then once they do, that might be a good opportunity to get a better number with them. So that's kind of my only real strategy for the Atlantic as of right now.
Yeah, I like what you're saying about the Bruins here, especially because you look at them, they're normally such a really heavy defensive team. This could be one where you look at the overs, especially in those first games coming out. Let's talk the Mets. I'm high on the Hurricanes here. I think they're primed to take the division, but it's a great division. Again, you know, we saw so much of the Rangers last season as well, deep into those playoffs. Where are you looking with this one?
Yeah, I love Rod Brindamore, by the way, but just big fan. I love the way he runs ship. They're such a fun and exciting team to watch. Their penalty kill last year was just staggering, and it was unfortunate to see their season come up short. And I think they have a big chip on their shoulder because of the way that the last 2 years have played out for them. They have been a pretty trendy pick to win the cup. Like that it's been bet down, I think 11-1 now. They've been like almost a contender for, I feel like, 4 years now.
So close.
Caught a bad break, obviously, with the late season injury to Frederick Anderson that hurt them throughout the postseason. And I don't know, they're a trendy bet, and I like it, especially because Max Pacioretty, former Golden Knight, who I mentioned earlier, is injured, and he's probably not going to be available until the back half of the year. But once he's another just like scoring asset that you can punch into the lineup late in the season, that's probably like the best time to have a guy like him. So they're a team too that, yeah, I'm with you. I really like Carolina. And the Caps are another team that had kind of a weird season last year, still got to the playoffs and were a hard out. That series with Florida, just still crushing for Washington fans everywhere, I'm sure. The one thing they were lacking was quality goaltending. And I don't know if they're going to get that fully with Darcy Kemper, but I do think he's going to be an upgrade for them if he continues to play at or near the level that he had last year, right? So
definitely an upgrade. But can we block shots on goal? Because we know Colorado was so strong at blocking those shots on goal for Kemper. It's my only concern with him. He's used to a team that defensively holds up so strong for him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I also think that a lot of people generally that look at Darcy Kemper probably have some recency bias too from him being hurt. And he obviously wasn't himself late either, and he did have help. So I'm just not sure what version of him that we're going to get. So that's a really, really good point. I do think, though, for the Capitals that battle testedness is probably pretty significant for them. And the top of the roster is still good. Like Ovi and Kuznetsov had a good bounce back season last year. So the Caps, I think, could be interesting. And then, yeah, you said the Rangers, and being a Vegas person, Gerard Gallant also has my heart. So I root for them, and I would love to see them have success. I just don't have a futures bet on them right now.
Stormy, it's going to be an absolutely fantastic season. I want to thank you so much for breaking down these divisions and what you're liking. What do you got going on this week, and where can everyone find you?
Thanks. Yeah. So VSiN Final Countdown is a show that I host for 2 hours a day, Monday through Friday. If you go to VSiN.com, become a subscriber. Also, great to plug that our NHL betting guide just came out last Thursday, and Andy McNeil, who is our resident NHL expert, did such a great job breaking down every single team, tips that new NHL bettors need to know, ways to create a hand. He's just so knowledgeable at the analytics and situational spots. That make sure you go to VSiN.com and become a subscriber, because the guide is free if you're a subscriber. So you can catch me on VSiN every day, and I'm also every Saturday a college football reporter for ESPN. So if you turn on a random game and see my face, you might be able to see me there too.
Yeah, you have been absolutely crushing it in the industry, Stormy. Keep up the great work, and thank you so much for joining me here on Pocket with Joe.
Hey, back at you, Joe. You're crushing it. Appreciate you, girl. Have a great day.
You have a great day too. Thank you. Bye now.